Good morning and welcome to an episode of the Stemmy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Brady Donner. Today, our guest is Dr. Simone Le Gendre. Dr. Simone Le Gendre is an award-winning STEM equity leader, policy strategist, and the founder of EduHaus, Inc., a global social enterprise advancing access to science, technology, and innovation through culturally responsive tools and programs. With over 15 years of experience across education and public policy, Simon has led immigration and, and ocean governance portfolios for the government of Nova Scotia. She was selected internationally to join the province as a STEM curriculum consultant, where she led the development of ocean-focused curriculum. She is the visionary behind STEM Pal, an AI-powered learning platform delivering personalized, culturally relevant STEM education to the next billion change makers in STEM. Her doctoral, her doctoral research introduced the Wicked leadership model and Afrocentric evidence-based framework for inclusive, community-rooted system change. Simone also founded Root and Harvest, a food sovereignty initiative rooted in ancestral agriculture and urban farming. She is a bold voice for Black innovation, STEM access, and diasporic excellence. Dr. Lejeune, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning and welcome to an episode of the Semi Conversations podcast. My first question would be, what career did you pursue?
Thank you for having me on your podcast. My career has been very exciting. I pursued a career in STEM education. I didn't originally plan to become a teacher, but after I worked with youth, I realized that many youth were impacted by the way I would explain science. So that shifted everything for me. I went to college in the US, and after I stayed there to teach elementary school, focusing on science and math. And then I returned to my home country, Trinidad and Tobago, where I led a science education team at the National Science Center. And shortly after that, I moved to Canada, where I was recruited by the government to be a STEM curriculum consultant. So today, I'm still in public service, working in ocean governance. And I also have a social enterprise called EduHaus, where I get to design wonderful STEM projects for youth all around the world.
That's interesting. Can you describe a day in the life of your career or you could give me more detail in what you do?
Sure. So for me, no 2 days are the same. In my public service role, I might be preparing a briefing for the deputy minister or the minister. It could be around ocean policy, conservation, offshore wind. It could be on many things. So no 2 days are the same. And with my social enterprise, EduHaus, we do a number of different things. So we are working on an AI-powered STEM education platform called STEM Pal. It's available at stempal.ai. And we also work on a number of science, education, and capacity building projects across the Caribbean and West Africa.
Interesting. My next question, though I know you gave detailed information, for the purpose of our viewers, how is STEM or ICT integrated into your career?
So STEM has always been very central for me. Starting off, even as an educator, I always try to bring open data, specifically like NASA open data, into my classroom and into ways that make youth engaged about science and using satellite data and scientific data sets. Through my social enterprise, we continue this work in a number of our youth programs. And in my public service work, we use scientific evidence in our policy work, especially in areas like ocean conservation, aquaculture, fisheries. So this is a central part of what I'm doing. And again, as I mentioned at EduHaus, we're working on STEM Pal. So with STEM Pal and artificial intelligence, we're actually creating and programming platforms that will help personalize STEM education and make it more accessible, not only for learners, but also for educators and for industry.
All right, thank you so much. If you weren't into STEM or ICT, what field would you have chosen and why?
Well, this is a good question. I think for me, maybe I would have been a writer. I was really good at STEM in high school, and I was streamlined to have a career in earth science or geology, but I was also exceptional at literature and writing. So while I was being prepared to pursue geology or maybe another earth science career, ironically, one of my strengths was in writing, and this actually helped me to get through IT and coding in high school. So today I get to combine both logic and creativity, science and storytelling. So if I wasn't in STEM, I would probably be a storyteller.
Interesting. Um, how has your career journey been, or what's your career journey like?
So for me, my journey has been cross-continental. But the baseline of it has always been purpose, my why. Why am I doing this? So from my university days in the US, then back home to Trinidad, and now in Canada, each step taught me something new. Starting off as a teacher and then leading national STEM programs took me from being in a classroom to being in a boardroom. And I took the same skills that I would use in the classroom into the boardroom, which is as a teacher, you're always synthesizing complex information, breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. And I've realized that through my career, that is a very important skill that matters whether you're in a classroom or you're briefing a minister or writing a grant proposal. Being able to break down complex ideas is very important. So now I shape public policy at the provincial level in Canada. And my thought line always is, how can we build better systems for more people? How can we include more people in what we do? So starting off with my early, STEM, I would say background in high school taught me to have a hypothesis, to use the scientific method, to do an investigation, and then look at your results and then make a decision based on evidence.
Thank you. Very inspiring. What are some obstacles you faced in your journey, either at work or at university or on your project, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I would say that moving countries is always challenging. You know, as an immigrant, you have to prove yourself many times again and again,
That's
especially
true.
as a Black woman in senior leadership. I've faced many times when people underestimate me. I've been leading scientific missions, and I've had someone ask me to make them a cup of coffee because they didn't think that I was the actual leader in the room at the time. So, there's always bias, there's always moments of self-doubt, but for me, I overcome them with faith and preparation. I also seek to find mentors, people who have walked this path before me, and try to learn as much as possible from other people's mistakes and the lessons that they share. And it comes down to really believing in yourself and being able to drown out the noise of other people's opinions and knowing your why and having that firm belief that, yes, you are here, you deserve to be here, and that I'm here not just for me, but to open doors for everyone else who looks like me and could potentially go through what I'm going through. That helps me to overcome it.
I like that. And that is something that resonates deeply with me. You always have to know your why. because when the challenges get they get rough and you don't know your why, you're stuck in this place as to why am I still here? Why am I still doing this? But once you know your why, you're able to how to bounce back from the challenges. Yes, they're always going to be there, but for some reason you keep being determined. As soon as you know what's your why, or once you know what's your why, you will always be determined to continue going.
Yeah, that is very true.
What does success look like for you, or how do you know you're successful, whether in your career, at your project? How do you know you're successful?
So I think like when I'm in the field, on the ground, in a community doing a project, success is when someone else's face lights up. When I explain something to them, or they are their hands-on building something, putting together a robotics kit, or they got their robot to work to kick a soccer ball, and their face lights up and they feel like, yes, I did that, or yes, I understand that. That is success for me in community. And in public service, success is when we drive policy outcomes that include more people. So when we get legislation passed, or when a policy comes into effect that I had some small part in helping to shape, I feel really happy about that. And through my social enterprise, success is for me is when the things that I have built outlive me. The programs that I created back home in Trinidad, or the students that I taught in the US, now come back and say, I'm a medical technologist, or I'm a doctor. I feel like that's when my impact has outlived my short time in someone's
Yeah.
life or in a program. So when a student sees themselves in STEM, or the policy includes the voice of those who are left out, or when another person decides, another woman, another Black woman decides to step into leadership, I feel that that is what success looks like.
Similarly for me as well. I think we both work in similar spaces. I was a volunteer at an NGO called the STEM Guyana, and there I brought or taught robotics in my region, as well as other regions in the country. And similarly for me, I feel to keep going when the kids are building the robots, and then it's finally working, or we're programming a robot, and the code is finally went through. It's been programmed. I start doing what we want. I feel as if I've done it. Yes, this is it. And the
Yeah,
little smiles that they give, or they come and say, "Hey, my robot is working," and then they start playing with each other. Yeah, that's it for me as well.
that's
What do
great.
you think about networking and building relationships as a STEM person or in STEM?
I think this is really essential. And it's interesting because I work with a lot of scientists who would consider themselves introverts, or they would consider themselves not a people person. But networking is so important because we don't exist in isolation. We all exist in relation to one another and in relation to ourselves. And we are people, in the world. Um, so my career has been shaped by people who opened doors for me, people who shared knowledge with me, or people who simply believed in me. And also all of the opposite, people who didn't believe in me, people who closed doors, and people who had negative things to say and think about me. But both in policy and in entrepreneurship and in STEM, relationships move your work forward. Whether you're trying to build something, or you're trying to advance a policy position, trust is important because that's what builds change. And I think that we need to keep an open mind. We'll interact with many people who are from different fields, different backgrounds, who have different views, but everyone has a lesson to teach you, and you can learn something from anyone, whether it's positive or negative. And even if it's negative, you can reframe it to work for you in a positive way.
Yes. I am also very introverted, but you also have to there are certain parts in your journey that you have to interact with people. And as we would say, and I'm not sure if it's a Caribbean thing, I would say you gotta come out your shell sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you really have to do that. What do you enjoy most about your career?
For me, I enjoy most building things that didn't exist before. Um, I consider myself to be very innovative, and I like when I can get to challenge the status quo. So I enjoy building, for example, STEM Pal. I enjoyed coding my artificial intelligence API. I enjoyed, creating things that didn't exist. I create things that think in new ways, things that people may not necessarily put together. And in policy, sometimes that's putting forward recommendations that connect dots that maybe people didn't think of connecting. Or if I'm designing a program for a not-for-profit outside of Canada, or creating a career program to help youth see themselves in STEM. I love turning bold ideas into real world impact. And I love working at that intersection where people say, that can't be done. We've never seen anything like that before. And I'm like, okay, you wait and see. So I'm driven by legacy, and I love creating things that didn't exist.
Interesting. I like that too. Similarly, my work with youth, I would say it was driven by my mom and my aunt, mainly because they all worked with youth, either at church, at the school, or just in the community. Um, my mom had a small business. That was our small business, and she's my late mom, correct term. She would take money from our business and she'd buy stationaries or backpacks and so much educational things. And either on my birthday or her birthday, we distribute them. Or sometimes it might not be our birthdays yet, but there's some kid in the community who she sees maybe don't have backpackers, not going to school. Sometimes she'd even give them cash to go to school. Though our business was not big, she was very big in education, similar to my grandmother as well. And I think that's what led me to be this passionate about education and to actually work with young people. My aunt, the one you know actually, um, she was a teacher and I would always be with her most of the time when she's working with kids. And I think those um those their work actually fueled my me to be this person today.
That's wonderful.
My
And I
next
think I think it's wonderful that you're carrying on your mom's legacy. And I think that she is probably still looking down on you and very proud of you for all that you have done. And your aunt is just such a beautiful person as well. And she just really cares about people. So I think that's something that is very special. And you're all doing a great job.
Thank you. My next question, w- can you explain what imposter syndrome look like for you?
Oh, this is a good one. So imposter syndrome, I think, is something that I'm not sure if it ever goes away. So to whoever's listening, I'm not sure that this is going to tell you that it goes away at some point. But for me, it looked
Nobody.
like trying to prove myself, like working twice as hard, three, four times as hard, and at the same time, still doubting myself. It looked like being over prepared, and sometimes thinking that, okay, am I really going to deliver this presentation, or um wondering if I belonged in certain rooms. So for me, that was challenging. I had to kind of take a step back and pause, and a lot of times I was overqualified. A lot of times in the room I was academically overqualified, experientially overqualified, but still doubting myself because of the circumstances around me. And for me, I realized that, the most powerful people, the most successful people, even anyone you can think of, the more I got to speak to people in positions of power and influence, I kind of realized that they also experience the same doubt from time to time, whether it was before they go on stage or before they gave a major presentation, while they might have been on TV. And that's just part of being a leader and being a trailblazer. So now I acknowledge that the doubt may step in. I just pause, I think about it, and I let it go, because I do belong here and you belong here. And we have the skills and we have the experience that we need to do the great things that we are doing.
I like that. We all belong. There's always a space for each of us based on our skill set and our qualifications. We're winding down. My next question would be, what advice would you give to young adults who wish to follow in your footsteps?
I would tell anyone, any youth or anyone who wants to pursue a path similar to mine or pursue their own path, is that they don't need a perfect plan. Your journey will change, and be open to that change. What is more important is to have purpose and to have persistence. Be open to pivots, to switching lanes. And in fact, there is no lane. When people tell you stay in your lane, why? Why are people saying that? Maybe based on their own self limiting beliefs. Lead with values. And remember that you're allowed to be both brilliant and learning at the same time. You can be strategic and you can be soft. You can be a scientist and you can be a storyteller. The path is not linear. You do not ever need to shrink to fit anyone else's opinion of you. You need to expand, to lead and be who only you were created to be.
That was inspiring. I'll have to copy that code now. Um, is there anything that you'd like to add before we close?
Yeah, I would just like to say that, don't be afraid to build what you wish existed. There are so many problems in this world that need solving, and maybe you are the one that's going to solve it because maybe you have the unique skills and experience to connect dots that no one else would see. That's how I started EduHaus. I saw a system that didn't work for people who looked like me or for my community worldwide. So I built that to fill that gap and to solve that problem because each one of us have every right to reimagine the kind of world we would want. STEM is for all of us, and we should build it to include all of us.
Thank you. All right, thank you to Dr. Simone for sharing with us today. Be sure to follow us on social media that is on Facebook and Instagram at Stemmy.conversations. We're also on the podcasting sites like Anchor, Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and Digital School Out. That's at Stemmy Conversations. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to have a great remainder of your day.
Thank you so much, Brad.
You're welcome.